Genesis 23. Now, as always, I just want to go back a little bit to Genesis 22, just to make sure that we know what's going on. We just had the climactic offering of Isaac, and Isaac was never going to be offered. Abraham just had to be willing to finally submit to God and trust God that God was going to keep his word. Then if you go to 22 verse 20, it says, "And it came to pass after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, Behold, Milcah, she hath also borne children unto thy brother Nahor, Huz the firstborn, Buz his brother," what a great name, "and Kemuel, the father of Aram, and Cheston, and Hazo, and Pildash, and Jitlaph, and Bethuel, and Bethuel begat Rebekah." And Rebekah means, what does Rebekah mean?
Like entrap or something?
I'm sorry?
To entrap?
Yeah, ensnare.
Yeah.
Which is nice, huh?
Because I'm really nice to my husband later on.
Okay, these 8 Milcah did bear to Nahor, Abraham's brother, and his concubine, whose name was Remuah, and she bare Teba, and Gaham, and Thahash, and Maacah. Now, with all those names that I just slaughtered, I just want to give you one little bit. Sometimes people will talk to, sometimes people will talk to Muslims and really have a problem with the Prophet Muhammad being a much older man, marrying somebody that was 6 and consummated the marriage at 9. Okay? And some, for whatever reason, like to say, yeah, but Rebekah was 3 years old when she married Isaac, who was how old? 40. And so, number one, for her to be able to carry all those pitchers of water at 3 years old, no, that's not what happened. But I'll tell you why they say that, okay? Because if you look at the very next verse in 23 verse 1, it says, "And Sarah was 107 and 20 years old." She was 127 when she died. And these were the years of the life of Sarah. What they'll do is they'll say, well, the birth of Rebekah is linked to the death of Sarah. And so since Sarah was 100, by the way, how old was Sarah when Isaac was born? What? 90, very good. So that means this is 37 years later. So that means Isaac is how old?
37.
37, very good. And if indeed Rebekah would be born here, she would be born at 0. And when Isaac gets to be 40, if she was born there, she would be 3 years old. That's how they calculate it. However, this is not linked to that, because did you read about how many people were born? Did you read all those? Did you hear all those names that I listed? Mm-hmm. Do you think all of those people from 2 humans were all born on the same time that Rebekah died? No, it doesn't even make sense. And it's never been felt that way. Now we are going to go get to a couple of tough spots. And when I say tough spots, they're tough because of our modern thinking. But I think once we understand the whole umbrella of what's going on, I think it's going to be easier. So we've got a very, very short chapter in verse 23, and that's going to allow us to eat the rest of these ice lollies and things like that before they melt. And then we got a big, long chapter, because you know anything that's going to deal with Rebekah is just going to be blah, 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 just a lot of words. Okay, chapter 23, verse 1, "And Sarah was 107 and 20 years old, and these were the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Kirjath Arba, the same is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abram came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her." So let's just first establish where this is. Where does anybody know where modern day Hebron is? Right, very good. In the West Bank today. Hebron is still Hebron today. And sometimes it's called Kirjath Arba, and sometimes it's called Mamre. Remember Mamre? Same thing. And so Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. Just for those that like to keep a hold of these things, I believe this is the very first time is mentioned anybody in the Bible weeping. And he wept for his wife Sarah. Now, sometimes Abraham was a stupid man. Can we agree on that? Yeah. But he loved her. And he wept for her. And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spake to the sons of Heth. Now, Heth are a Canaanite tribe, because remember, Abraham is a sojourner in this. Even though God promised him all of this, he's not possessed it. He literally is living in a stranger in a foreign land. But people seem to respect him. Nobody seems to be attacking him. And Abram stood up before his dead and spake unto the sons of Heth, saying, I'm a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession of a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. So because he's no longer living in Haran, in Ur of the Chaldees, he needs a resting place, and he wants it permanent. Why do you think he wants it permanent?
So he can then be buried there?
So he can be buried there, and other people can be buried there. And he really is trusting God at this point. He's trusting God because God says this is going to be your place and the place of your descendants. And you know, some things can, like I'll just let you know, we flew Ruth Ann, had her buried at a place where I thought my family was going to be for a long time. Then my father died, and my stepmother moved, and now that house was sold, and like nobody's there. You know, you really can't always grab a hold of the future, but Abraham really is stepping out here, and he's stepping out trusting God. And he says, I need a place. I need a place where I can bury them. And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, Hear us, my Lord. Thou art a mighty prince among us. In the choice of sepulchres bury thy dead. None of us shall withhold from thee his sepulchre, but that thou mayest bury the dead. So now he's a stranger. He's a sojourner. He's a foreigner. And he says, I want a permanent place to bury my descendants, Sarah, and everyone else. And they said, absolutely. Whatever place you want, you can have. And Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the children of Heth. And he communed with them, saying, If it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, because just think right now, where is Sarah?
What, dead?
Where is she? Is she buried?
No.
No, I mean, imagine a day like this. Okay? This is a little stressful. I mean, and this is something that needs to be sorted. Okay? So he says, if it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me and entreat for me to Ephron, the son of Zohar. So he talks to the sons of Heth, and he says, if we're all in agreement with this, I really want to speak to Ephron. Ephron, he has a place that I really want to purchase. And it's called the Cave of Machpelah. And verse 9, that he may give me the Cave of Machpelah, which he hath, which is in the end of his field. For as much money as it is worth, he shall give it me for possession of a burying place among you. What does he want to do? This is important. Is he going to go into battle for this? No. It's already been offered to him, right? But what does he want to do?
Pay for it.
Pay for it.
Pay for it. Okay, he wants to pay for it. Why? Because many cultures, if it's given to you, it can be taken back at a later date. He says, I want to pay for it. I want this to be my rightful place. I don't want there to be any questions about it. So verse 10, and Ephron dwelt among the children of Heth, and Ephron the Hittite. And do the Hittites become problems later on?
Yes.
Yeah, everybody in this area becomes some sort of problem, but they're not right now. And Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the audience of the children of Heth, even of all that went into the gate of the city. So at this gate of the city, there is going to be a conversation between Ephron and Abraham. Why at the gate of the city?
That's where the elders are.
That's where the elders are. So this is going to be a very out in the open legal standing. Any questions, any issues, and that's the way a lot of covenants, a lot of purchases were made. Not just on a handshake, but in front of other people so that everybody will know actually they agreed to that purchase, that belongs to them. Verse 11. Now, this is what Ephron says. Ephron in verse 11 says, Nay, my Lord, hear me. The field give I thee, and the cave that is therein, I give it thee. In the presence of my sons, of my people, give I it thee, bury thy dead. So he says, you don't need to pay for anything. I'm going to give it to you. Verse 12. And Abraham bowed down himself before the people of the land. By the way, would you just take it? I think I might be tempted to say, just thank you. I want to bury my wife. That's the big deal. Abraham's got money. He's got plenty of money. That's not the issue. I just would want my wife buried as quick as possible. But he still wants to do the right thing. Abraham seems to be becoming a great man of character. And he spoke to Ephron in the audience, verse 13, of the people in the land, saying, But if thou wilt give it, I pray thee hear me, and I will give thee money for the field. Take it of me, and I will bury my dead there. And Ephron answered Abraham, saying unto him, My Lord, hearken unto me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that betwixt me and thee? Bury therefore thy... It's 400 pieces of silver. I don't care. I don't want 400 to be an issue. Abraham is not trying to make money an issue. Abraham just wants this deal done so that it's his. And so even though Ephron he's desperately trying to give it to him. Verse 16, and Abraham hearkened to Ephron, and Abraham weighed to Ephron the silver, which he has named in the audience of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, current money with the merchant. And the field of Ephron, which was in Machpelah, which was before Mamre, the field, the cave which was therein, and all the trees that were in the field, and that were in all the borders round about, were made sure unto Abraham for a possession in the presence of the children of Heth, before all that went in at the gate of the city. So there you go. They reached an agreement. He paid the money. He paid the going rate. And I think Ephron was trying to allow both parties to save face, because Abraham wanted to buy it, and he's like, tell me what the going rate is. He's like, it's 400, but who cares? Abraham says, fine, 400. Let's do that. And we're going to see that this is the place over and over and over and over again that is going to be used to bury the patriarchs and their wives. There is some debate on, they think they know where it is, but there's some debate on it because there's not going to be any excavation of it or anything like that. Finally, verses 19 and 20. And after this, Abraham buried Sarah, his wife, in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre, the same as Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And the field and the cave that is therein were made sure unto Abraham for a possession of a burying place by the sons of Heth. Now, here's my question for you. I mean, are there any questions on this chapter? It's a pretty easy chapter. But are there any questions on that? On what's going on in 23? Do we understand what's going on in 23? Why do you think such a big deal is being made of this? I mean, there's a lot of events that just aren't spelled out. This seems to be carefully spelled out. Why do you think this is being spelled out?
So what happens later on?
What happens later on? What does happen later on? Matter of fact, the later on is the big thing of this whole book of Genesis.
This is where they go later on, but this is like a damping, well, it's not a kind of, this is the first step towards what will later be the promised land.
Okay.
It's a bit of a leap, a
If
bit tenuous, but that's the only thing I can think of.
let's think about yeah.
Is this the place where, like, Joseph wants his bones buried?
Yes. Yes. Why is that important for this story?
They're not going to be staying here.
Who's this being written to?
The Israelites,
The Israelites after they left
Egypt.
Egypt, and when before Joseph died, he says, "I don't want my remains to be here. I want to be buried with my fathers." Okay, so this is explaining why they're doing what they're doing. It's good for us to see when we see these tracts, but remember, the main audience that this is originally being written for are the Hebrew children as they're leaving Egypt. And Moses is spelling out why they're leaving Egypt, why they're going into the promised land, and all these things. And so this is being spelled out pretty perfect. Any other questions on chapter 23? No. Okay. Well, let's